I would like to share with you an amazing, amazing thought on Chanukah. Chanukah sticks out from all the other Yom Tovim. For example, the Rambam speaks about Ner Chanukah that it's Chaviva hi ad me'od. It's a very, very beloved mitzvah. Doesn't say Chaviva. There's no other mitzvah that the Rambam speaks about this way, that it's Chaviva, that it's beloved. But Chanukah gets the title, the Ner Chanukah gets the title of beloved. We have also, on the secular side, something very interesting. The secular, which is what their name represents, don't really observe the mitzvos. They don't follow the Torah. But for some reason, Chanukah is one of the few holidays that it's up there that the secular do observe, to some extent. That the secular people are somehow, the non-religious people are somehow connected to Chanukah. And it begs the question, so why? Why, out of all the Yom Tovim, does this one fall into the category that, this is the one that they choose? You have also, another interesting point, is that Chanukah is represented by the Ar Haganas. It's connected to the Ar Haganas. The Ar Haganas was a hidden light that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created right when He created the world. This light is a very, very powerful light. It's like a light of clarity. A light of you can see things that you can never see without this light. A very, very special light. But the problem is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that people will misuse it. People are going to do wrong things with this light. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu went and He hid the light. And one of the places that it's hidden is in Chanukah. Chanukah represented the hidden lights, the light of clarity. It's connected with the secular for some reason. It's a chaviva hi ad me'od. There's something that sticks out about Chanukah that we have to go and investigate just a little bit to see the power that lies in this Yom Tov, in this amazing, beautiful Yom Tov. We know that our neshama is represented by like a ner, like a flame. And what is the representation of a flame compared to a neshama? There is, in every single one of us, there is a desire to do good. There is a desire to accomplish. There's a desire to succeed. There's a desire to just be awesome. The problem is we get distracted. We don't utilize this inspiration. We don't utilize this desire. But every so often, we get inspired. We get motivated. We get enthusiastic to be able to go and do something. Right? We all want to be that better person. We all want to accomplish a lot. We all want to be the better parent. We all want to be the better child. We all want to be the better spouse. We all want to be the better employee. We all want to accomplish a lot. And sometimes there is that inspiration. And we grab that inspiration and we're able to do. We're able to accomplish. And sometimes the inspiration wanes. And there's a fire inside of us. Sometimes there's a fire that lights up inside of us and we're able to accomplish a lot. That inspiration, that fire, that spark that we're looking for is very much connected to Chanukah. Chanukah, there is a part of us that we want to do better. Chanukah has the ability to ignite that spark. Chanukah has that ability to go and take that motivation and pull it forward. We just got to tap into it. That's why the secular are somehow connected to it. They think it's, maybe because of the time season. Now, there's something very spiritual, powerful on this Yom Tov. The Rambam calls it Chaviva hi ad me'od. There's something very, very special about this Yom Tov. There is something, the Ar Haganas, the clarity that we all search for, that we all seek for. It's something with this Yom Tov of Chanukah. There's something over here. And that is, there's a desire for us to do good. Chanukah has the ability to ignite that desire. We know that the story of Chanukah was a story of where the Jewish people were not so enthusiastic before the story of Chanukah on certain things in Yiddishkeit. But comes Chanukah, the enthusiasm, the inspiration came in and says, no, we're doing this and we're going to do it right. We're going to do it fully. There was an inspiration that was boiling up inside each and every single one of us. And that inspiration, that little spark with Chanukah ignited and blew up into for us to accomplish amazing things. And that is what Chanukah has the ability to do. People that have difficulties, Chanukah is a time that you're able to go and ignite that spark, ignite that inspiration and accomplish so much. There's a spark inside every single one of us that wants to do more. Every single Jew, the furthest Jew off and the most righteous Jew. Everybody has that spark. Everybody, and sometimes it ignites and other times it lays dormant. Chanukah is the time that you could go and explode this. You could accomplish so much in it. It's such a special, holy holiday. Rabbi Meir Lau shares an amazing story. that during the time of war, the World War II, where the Nazis were spreading and the Jews were trying to escape, there was one Rosh Yeshiva that he couldn't escape. He could, but he couldn't inside. He wanted to be with his Talmidim. How could he leave his Talmidim alone? He couldn't, and as opportunities came, he couldn't take it on himself to go and run away from his students. So he decided he's going to stick with his students. And he stuck with his students, and unfortunately, he did not make it out of the Holocaust. And many of the students also perished. There was one student that was able to make it out, and the student was very connected to the Rosh Yeshiva, was very connected to the rabbi. And after the war, he was searching to see, did the rabbi make it? Searching to see, and he saw that the rabbi unfortunately didn't make it. And then he was searching, okay, maybe a family member, made it out. And he found out there was one daughter, the sole survivor of his Rav, the sole survivor of the Rosh Yeshiva, the sole survivor of the Rebbe, was this one daughter. So he decided he's going to try to track her down. And it took him years to track her down. Meanwhile, he ended up moving to Israel, and he ended up marrying and having children. And he was searching until he found that the rabbi's daughter ended up moving to Belgium. And unfortunately, to make matters worse, she completely threw off religion. To the point that she ended up marrying somebody involved in the church, and she even sent her one son to the monastery. He was in a Catholic school. And the students tried to connect with this woman, and he started writing her letters. She never responded to one letter. Then he said, okay, you know what? Let me try calling her. So back then, not everyone had phones, and he found out that she didn't have a phone. So he went and he found out where she was working. She was working in a certain factory, and he started calling the factory. And the first time that he got a hold of the factory, and then they were able to transfer, she was able to come to the phone, he explained who he was. She slammed the phone down immediately. He thought maybe it got disconnected. Call back again. It was very expensive to call long distance. He called back again, and he said, no, you don't understand. I'm the student of your father. And she's like, please don't ever call me again. I have no interest in whatever you're trying to sell. And she hangs up the phone again. He tries calling again and again and again. At this point, they say that she's not interested in speaking to you. Please stop calling her. So he said, okay, what else can I do? And then he decided, he says, I can't give up. He says, you know what? He didn't have a lot of money. He decided that he is going to buy a plane ticket, and he's going to fly down to Belgium and meet with her and speak to her. So he buys this plane ticket. He flies down to Belgium, gets her address, and he starts knocking on her door. She opens up the door, and she sees, obviously, from a religious person standing in front of her. She was confused. She's like, yes, can I help you? He's like, oh, I'm the student of... The second that he said, I'm the student, before he was able even to say the rabbi, she slammed the door on his face. And he was taken aback. And he knocks the door again. She screams at him from behind. She says, I have no interest in anything. Please leave me alone. The student just flew all the way from Eretz Israel. He's not going to just leave her alone after all of that. And he starts knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking and knocking. And nothing doing. And he's knocking and he's sitting, he's taking a break, he's knocking. After about an hour, he starts knocking and nonstop. And then finally she opens the door and she says, what do you want? She's so frustrated. She's like, what do you want already? And he's like, do you mind? Can I have a glass of water? And she was immediately she was taken back. She's like, oh, yeah, I guess I can give you, a glass of water. And she's like, but you wait outside. I'll bring the water to you. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And then as she's walking inside, he says, do you mind? He says, I've been standing here for a long time. I'm very tired. Can I have a chair to sit? And she looks at him and she says, you know what? Just come in and sit down, over here. But I have no interest in whatever you're selling. I do not want to become a Baal Shuvah. I have no interest in Yiddishkeit. I have no interest in anything. You get your drink, you sit down a little bit, and then please leave. And he says, what makes you think that I want to make you a Baal Shuvah? She's like, what do you mean? Why are you here? He says, listen. He says, your father was my rabbi. He was like a father to me. He says, you know about what happened during his last hours on earth. I want to talk about him. And she was like, oh, okay. And they sit down and he's drinking his glass of water, and he says, so what happened? What happened? How did he, what was his last days like? And she starts tearfully recounting about what happened in his last moments. Says, you don't know. Says, the Nazis, they went and, while they murdered him while he was wearing his talis and tefillin. It was this, they were talking and talking and talking about it. Short while goes by. He gets up to leave. And as he gets outside, he turns around to her and he says, I just want to let you know, you hold the key. And then he continues walking. And then it takes like a few seconds, and she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So, key to what? And he turns around and he says, there was a battle. There was a battle between the Nazis, and there was a battle between your father. And the battle was, they wanted to make sure that his grandson is not going to be Jewish. His grandson is going to have nothing to do with Judaism. There's not going to be any Judaism left in this family. And they went and they murdered him because that was the plan to try to eradicate Judaism from him. And he says, now the key is up to you. The key of who is going to win the battle. Are the Nazis going to win the battle, and really he's not going to have a Jewish grandchild? Or are you going to win the battle? Or is he going to win the battle, and there will be a Jewish grandchild? And with that, he turns around and he goes and he leaves. He gets into the car that was waiting for him, that was driving him, and he tells the driver, start the car, but stay here, don't move yet. And they start the car. He sees her go back into the house, and he tells the driver, wait. They wait about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. All of a sudden, she runs out of the house, and she runs to the car, and she says, I don't want the Nazis to win. He says, do me a favor. Take my son and bring him to Israel and bring him in the way of Torah mitzvot. He says, I'm a lost cause, but at least save my son. And he says, well, I'm a stranger. I can't just take your son. He says, if you want, I'll take your son, but you have to come along. He says, what do you mean? It's like I'm married to a non-Jew. He says, that's the deal. I'm not taking your son without you. You want to come, you're his mother, you come along with him. So she thinks for a moment. She says, give me 5 minutes. She runs into the house. She comes out 5 minutes later with a suitcase. And she tells the driver, it says, you're going to pick up my son from Catholic school. And they drive to the Catholic school. They pick up the son, and they fly. All three of them fly to Eretz Yisrael. Says Rabbi Lau, says this son is now a very, very big Rav in Eretz Yisrael. Inside this woman was a spark. As much as she threw her way everything, she was going against Yiddishkeit, against everything, there was still something inside of her that was burning inside. There needed to be that spark needed to be lit up. That spark had to be ignited, and once it ignited, that's it. It knew no bounds. And once the student came, the spark ignited, and that's it. The rest is history. Each and every single one of us has this spark inside of us. We just have to ignite it, and not always do we get to ignite it. Chanukah is the time to light up that spark. Chanukah is the time that you're able to light up your neshama, light up your soul. It has the ability that is unlike many, many of the other amazing Yom Tovim that we have. Chanukah has the power that the other Yom Tovim don't have. And that's why the Rambam says, Chaviva hi ad me'od. And that's why the secular there's something that's lit up inside of them, but they don't know why they're dragged and why they're connected to this Yom Tov. There's Ar Haganas that's inside of us that gives us the clarity. And what's the clarity? That all of a sudden we're living our life, and all of a sudden there's a clarity, there's a light that pops up and says, wait a minute, it says, what am I doing with my life? There is something that sometimes there's like a light bulb that just gets lit up, and we'll be like, what's going on? That's the Yom Tov of Chanukah. That is the power of Chanukah that we have today. So I ask each and every single one of you, me included, how are you going to light up this Chanukah?